Welcome to Scott's Slasher World. This week I'm going to be showing off a bunch of VHS, all Part 3's. First up is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Stars Patricia Arquette. Heather Langenkamp comes back to reprise her role. Of course, Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. Now, this is not the original cover, or at least the original VHS cover, of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. It actually looked exactly like the shirt that I own. So the original cover, when the VHS was first released, and the poster, looked like this. Really cool cover. One of my favorite covers. And I know when these came out, I wasn't super thrilled with the artwork. It's grown on me with age, but still doesn't live up to the original cover. But still, what an excellent and awesome sequel. Next up is Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. Probably my favorite in the Phantasm series, only because it feels to me to be the most 80s, even though this movie came out in 1994. And if you watch my Part 2 videos, I mentioned that. And I'm thinking, I said this also about Hellraiser 3, and Hellraiser 3 came out in the early 90s as well. But there's something about Hellraiser 3 and Phantasm 3 with all the camp that they threw in there that it feels like, to me, like an 80s movie. But I really enjoy Phantasm 3 as a fun watch. It's my favorite. Now, Phantasm 1 is clearly my favorite, as if it's just a straight horror. But this is just a killer, fun movie to watch. And speaking of Hellraiser 3, we do have Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. This one actually came out in 1992. I really dig the cover art there with Pinhead. Yeah, I mean, this movie is just so much fun. Now, yes, it's not it's not the scariest for sure. I would say Hellraiser 2 might be the most terrifying, maybe Hellraiser 1. But I really dig Hellraiser 3 and Hellraiser 4. And a couple of the sequels after that, there were a few here and there that were good. And then a couple, they had a different script and they just threw the Cenobites in there. But Hellraiser 3 is a fun movie. And it's the only time that Pinhead isn't bound by Hell's laws. So you get to see him cracking jokes and smiling and just stuff that you don't normally see Pinhead do. So I recommend checking out Hellraiser 3 if you want a fun, cheesy horror flick. Next up is Watchers 3. I have I think there's only 4 Watchers movies. I can't remember if they've made any new ones since, but I do have all 4 on VHS. This one's a pretty good entry. Not a whole lot that just sticks out in my memory about this one, but I do dig it. Definitely Watchers 1 is my favorite, and I do like Watchers 4 a lot. But they're all a fun time. Definitely have to recommend the series Watchers. Next up on VHS is Scream 3. I just watched Scream 6, and man, it blew me away. I've got to say, Scream 3 is probably my least favorite Scream movie in the franchise. But I'm telling you, Part 6 is my 3rd favorite, maybe 4th, but it's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I know you can watch it if you have Paramount. You can watch it right now for free. I definitely recommend, and this is not a bad movie, but it's just my least favorite in the series. So that's all I'm going to say. Dig the movie. A lot of cool cast. Your main cast comes back, and then you have Parker Posey and different people. I mean, I'm going to look at the back. You got Patrick Dempsey was in this one, Lance Henriksen, Jenny McCarthy. This was a cool film. It's just, for me, it's my least favorite Scream. Next up is Alien 3. Probably the most depressing Alien movie in the franchise. This is definitely not my favorite of the Alien movies, but a pretty good sequel, if you ask me. It's really bleak. It's a bleak movie. I mean, kind of all the Aliens movies were, but this one is probably the bleakest. Still, I have to recommend it. If you've seen Alien and Aliens, definitely check out Alien 3. Next up is Carnosaur 3, Primal Species. Really cool cover. I don't remember a whole lot about part 3. I need to go back and rewatch it, but I like all the Carnosaur movies. They're a fun time. So, you know, if you get a chance, check them out. Next up is Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest. Horrifying. Move over, Jason and Freddy, says the back of the box. This is a really good Children of the Corn movie. It's one of my favorites to watch. It's right up there with, for me, it's right up there with like part 1 and part 6. And 2 is really good as well, but something about this one, it's really fun. I really like the kid in this one, the main killer kid. He was also the demon in Demonic Toys. He's the human form of the demon that's trapped in the toy store. But yeah, what's his name? Daniel Kearney. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce Daniel's last name, but he does a great job in this, and can't recommend part 3 enough. Next up is Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. I do remember when this one came out, I hated it. I did not care for part 3 when it came out. Compared to part 1, and then also part 2 was a really good sequel. This was very weak. It's grown on me, but at the time I did not like it. I remember, I think like in this one, the Tremors are like walking and they're like shooting fireballs out their butts and stuff. And at the time I wanted a serious horror film. And it's a fun, campy movie, but I mean, part 1 and part 2 are just so good. But, you know, especially if you're a Tremors fan, the longer they went, the more outrageous they get. So this one, it's not as outrageous now, but it's a fun movie, and it's cool to have this in my collection. Next up is Child's Play 3. I love the tagline here, look who's stalking now. The Look Who's Talking movies were coming out around this time, and this aired all the time on like basic cable. You know, my favorite definitely is part 2. Out of the Child's Play movies, it's my least favorite, but it's not my least favorite out of the Chucky movies. So it's a cool sequel, just it's not as much gore, not as crazy, especially after the crazy part 2. But it's still a fun movie, and I do enjoy it. So I do recommend Child's Play 3. Next up is Amityville 3D. I love the cover of this. It's a really cool. Really cool back too. Take a look at the back of the box. Super cool. The home video version is not in 3D as it says on the box, but it is a fun entry into the Amityville series. Next up is Jurassic Park 3. Really cool little cover. I like the silver design they've got here. This one has definitely gotten more critical acclaim as it's aged. At the time, I don't think people really enjoyed it that much, but it's a good sequel. Now part 1 and part 2 are just so good that to me this one doesn't really hold up to those, but it's still fun, and you know, I recommend it. If you've never seen it, check out Jurassic Park 3. Next up is Psycho 3. Whoever previously owned this, their name and address is on the front cover there. Della Taylor used to own this. Della Taylor has some great taste, because I have a few tapes that must have been in a Goodwill that I got, all from Della Taylor. They all play great. So Della, you have great taste in movies. Next up is Scanners 3, The Takeover. Another cool entry into the Scanners franchise. I really dig these movies, especially the sequels. They just get more fun. I really like Scanners, but it's more serious. These just get more and more campy. I enjoy part 3 a lot. This one's a real good one and a real fun waste of time. Next up is Karate Kid Part 3. I love the cover of this VHS. It's beautiful. I like all the Karate Kid movies, and Cobra Kai just really makes this movie now. You know, this movie wasn't, super well respected when it came out, but now with Cobra Kai they bring all the characters back, and I don't know, it just gives more credibility to like the later sequels, even though I like them all. Part 3 at the time, I think critics panned it, but still a fun movie. Check out Karate Kid Part 3. Next up is the only Part 3 that I've actually ever been in. It's Pork Chop 3D on VHS. Really dig this release. This is a Laser Paladin release. Let me open it up. It's got some cool concept art in here. And as you can tell, I'm actually wearing the Pork Chop 3D shirt when it was still called Pork Chopped with a 3. And my wife is right here as well. So as you can see, my wife is on the shirt. Pretty sweet. I was in this movie and I do get killed in the very beginning. So, oh, and look at the awesome orange VHS tape. And if you can ever find you a copy of Pork Chop 3D, I highly recommend it. And the last Part 3 I'll be showing off this evening is Death Wish Part 3. I've got 2 different versions. I got this one in a nice little plastic case that I got from Movie John. But this one's a really cool big box Death Wish 3. I'm telling you, Death Wish 3, best in the series. Now, I love Part 1 and 2. They're serious. This is way more campy. It's way more fun. Really dig this. I love the way it opens up. You can watch, I think you can watch these on Tubi, I think. Just Google Death Wish 3 if you've never seen it, and do yourself a favor and watch it. It's awesome. That's all for this week in front of the camera. Let me know what your favorite Part 3 is in a series. And if you enjoyed this video and you want me to show off Part 4s, leave me a comment. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you never miss a video. All right, welcome to the end of the video. I'm just gonna show a couple more Part 3s off, but just these will be on Blu-ray or DVD. We have Friday the 13th. Part 3. Man, this is such a good movie. One of my favorite Fridays. Maybe Part 4 is my favorite, but they kind of change. You can't go wrong with 3 through 7. Also Jason X, great movie. I love them all, but this one's a real good one. On Blu-ray we have Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Another fan favorite nowadays. When I was growing up, people hated this movie. I always thought it was pretty decent, but I was mad that Michael wasn't in it like everybody else. But it has grown on me as well as everybody. And it's a cool film. And this is a really good version. This is the Scream Factory version. Really dig it. Next up is Puppet Master 3 on Blu-ray. This is actually most fan favorite. This is the fan favorite actually. I prefer 2, but 3 is cool. Here is Part 3 on the DVD. Here's the kind of comparing what they look like. Very cool. Let's see what else I've got. We have A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 on DVD. That's the original cover. Next up we have Pork Chop 3D on DVD. So there's the DVD, and as comparison, here's what the Blu-ray looks like. I've got a bunch of the signatures of the cast. As I said, I'm actually in this one. So you can watch me meet my demise. Here's another re-release, and love this cover, Pork Chop 3D. Look how cool that is. Yeah, I have multiple versions. And the last one I'll be showing off today is Return of the Living Dead, Part 3 on DVD. Super fun movie, and check this one out if you've never seen it.